Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check brought to you by BB. There is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. Welcome, guys. It is already Thursday, August 22nd. Another week flying by. I'm going to make the joke every week until we actually leave the range, but it does seem in these ranging conditions, at least Monday through Friday, at least for me, tends to go by pretty quickly. But I'm Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy. I am joined by Dr. Will's Outlook and, of course, Jackus. Welcome, guys, to you as well. And yeah, I hope, like I said, I hope the audience is all having a great start to the week as a whole. I'd love to say something this week along the lines of the previous 2 weeks where we had so much volatility going on. I mean, 4 or 5% swings up and down every single day. This week for crypto, however, has been a little bit quieter. It does seem as though the market is maybe waiting a little bit for Jerome Powell, for Jackson Hole. Obviously, that's probably like the most important Fed meeting of the year. If I had to guess, I mean, I'm not really like a macro guy, but I'm pretty sure just based on the importance of kind of what I'm used to seeing how the market reacts in the wake of the event, it does seem to be kind of the most important Fed meeting. But how will it affect the coins? How will it affect equities? These are questions that we're definitely going to try and answer on this stream. Obviously, like I said, the coins are a little bit flat on the day and really on the week. We're just kind of awaiting that volatility. That the 25-year-old technical analyzers are kind of in the mud right now because they've been saying decision time soon, and we've just been sitting here. The market is moving on its own accord, guys. But before we can start breaking down charts and sharing all of the alpha for you, I'm going to ask if you can smash that like button for us. You've done a great job all week. So shout out to you for that. We are very appreciative of the fact that you guys are being so active and hitting the like button. I'm going to call on you one more time and probably tomorrow as well to finish the week out strong. The tech gods, their algorithms, whatever it is, they love when you hit the like button, and it really helps us continue to grow the channel, right? We've only recently hit 20K subscribers. So thank you again so much for the support, guys. But let's get into the charts. Let's talk markets on a more granular basis, looking at some of our favorite assets. I mean, I really wish I could provide more commentary on Bitcoin and ETH as far as what the price has done on a lower time frame, but it really has just been very, like when people talk about compressions in price, I would point to the price action of the last 2 or 3 weeks on Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Like, it's been probably a 3 or 4% range in both directions, give or take a few. Bitcoin's has been a little bit wider than ETH's, but when I look at Ethereum, it's like, wow, man, they have pinned that thing to a T, right? But you also have, I mean, Bitcoin has been a bit more volatile in the range that it's carved out. I'm just like looking at it right now. I mean, 5 or 6K range on Bitcoin. The Euro scalpers are eating good right now. Let me just say, the swing traders are getting blown out. Unless you're just chilling in spot, then you're probably just kind of wondering when this market's going to do something, right? But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where majors are at right now. Sol is green on the day. Majors are red. I don't know if it's enough green on Sol to really be too notable, but we continue to watch that Sol ETH pair, that Sol Bitcoin pair, as we've kind of been talking about that market, the Sol market specifically, kind of looking weak against those assets. So I still think that's an underlying storyline within crypto that's probably going to be really important for discerning our eventual directionality. Or maybe Sol doesn't even matter anymore, and we're seeing a regime shift as far as what the market's risk leader is, which would have to be Ethereum in this case. But better men than me have tried to call the bottom on ETH and ETH pairs before me. So we will see if the relationship that ETH has had with kind of those bottom callers perpetuates. Although I will say, and we've kind of talked about this on the show, ETH Bitcoin does look a lot more constructive here, as well as Sol ETH, or ETH Sol rather, than they have in quite some time. So I think that's an important underlying storyline for the market as well. And of course, we're going to talk about meme coins again. Obviously, Popcat got its Binance Perps listing. Will that serve as a catalyst for the meme coin market that has been a bit dead here over the last few weeks? And then any other prevailing narratives in crypto, because there are a few sectors of altcoins that are catching stronger bids than others. As always, we love to talk about how even in times of chop, even in downtrends, there are always sectors within this space that are outperforming. But yeah, equities, I think, will probably just be a question mark until tomorrow when Jerome Powell speaks, which I know how much we love. We all love the macro event days, man. But I'd love to open the floor up, guys. It is an interesting week. Daddy Jerome Powell speaking tomorrow. We will see what he says about our risk assets, if he says anything at all, because let's be honest, there is no guarantee that he even says anything particularly of note. The only thing that matters is how the market reacts, of course. But how are you guys doing? And of course, what are you seeing in the markets today?
He will say he is data dependent, I'm telling you. And that they will make the decisions based on the incoming data. And then repeat it 3 times.
Right. That sounds about right. I mean, he hasn't really. We've told ourselves he would say something important. I think at the last like 6 or 7 meetings, I want to say like 8 of the last 9 Jerome Powell speeches have actually turned into a green day for the market. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong there. I'd be interested to know how that back tests against previous Jackson Hole dates, right? Because last year, obviously, he said things that led to the market to rally really hard, and the year before that, he was very hawkish. So I guess we'll find out. But I think if anything is potentially going to happen, Jackus, surely it has to be at Jackson Hole, right? Because this is the most important Fed meeting of the year, more or less.
More or less. More or less. More or less. I suppose at the end of the day, it will depend what tie he is wearing, right? As some say, if it's purple, it's up. If it's blue, it's down, or something like that.
No, that's real. Will, what are you thinking about the Fed meeting tomorrow? Do you think it has any significance to markets, or is there anything that you're looking at kind of based on the fact that we could have volatility tomorrow?
No, I'm not really. All right, I know Will wants to cook.
Look, I pray every day for volatility. All right, but this is absolute, like, this is a shit show when it comes to volatility. Like, there's nothing. There's literally no movement. It's a slow, methodical grind up that is not giving leadway on either direction. It's just not. It's not giving the big drops. It's not giving the big pops. Like, I'd be cool with anything. Like, just pick a direction. For the love of God, just pick a direction, up or down.
Will is like, can this market move, please? I need the devs to do something. Make it move. I cannot take this anymore. I'm tired, boss.
Bro, I'm ready to go to Disney again. And that's a rare sight. It's just like, this is honestly ridiculous. It's like I've been through look, it feels like the bear market 2.0, right? Like, and I'm not saying like we're in a bear market. I'm saying like the price action, right? When you hit that bottom and then there's nothing left to give, right? There's no upside, there's no downside. It's just straight sideways and nothing to trade.
Yeah. Welcome to crypto.
It's funny. There's been things to trade, or people will tell you that there have been things to trade, and then they'll go shitcoin on Tron. Like, is there really something to trade? I don't know. I mean, none of the assets that I really want to trade look like they're very tradable right now. So I'm kind of more in the camp where I'm perfectly happy to just kind of like chill a little bit here before we head into Q4, which I do think will be very bullish. But obviously, we still have like 6 weeks until we get there. So it's like, man, I really feel this market can continue going sideways longer than pretty much everybody can stay solvent. At least majors can. But if you're in the altcoin trenches, I would probably just say look for good cookers, right? Whether that means shitcoins on chain or whether that is the occasional altcoin setup that looks really bullish. You know, something like, for example, we'll go to Aave. I mean, this has been a huge outperformer, right?
Yeah.
But there has
Or
been some opportunity.
Aave and TRX, brother. The Tron is just moving up. It's up only, man. That's like the only major.
It's yeah, and that also makes me kind of just wonder, Jack, is like how strong is the market if we're really going to be let out of it by Tron? Is that a thing? Can that be a thing? Are Dino coins going to be the narrative that? Yeah, no. Give me y'all's thoughts on this, because are Dino coins and OG DeFi going to be the narrative that people bid if majors break out? I think that's a big question mark in my brain. Or do they just go right back to meme coins?
Data coins will be the rotation, in my opinion. But like, I think meme coins they'll also be the rotation eventually. I think too many people are hyper focused memes, and so they're getting priced out, right? And that's what happens. I mean, I've been talking about this now for like almost a month and a half, 2 months. You know, switch to fundamentals, switch to fundamentals, switch to fundamentals, and now you're starting to see them start to move. And it's not just Tron. You got Aave, you got a lot of other fundamental coins starting to move. And people think I'm bullshit. Like, capital rotation's real. It's a real thing. Big caps move to mid caps move to small caps. This is the thing that happens in these markets. And rotation from one area to another. AI becomes a narrative. Okay, boom. It doesn't stay a narrative forever, right? And just like EVs were a narrative in 2021, and those will come back too. Like, all these narratives will play a part in the market cycle. It's about trying to pick out the narratives before they actually move. I think Tron, if you watch the bullshit on Tron, because it's literal bullshit, like, you watch these coins launch 30K, go to 90, and then come back down to like 3. Like, all of them are rugging. Every single one of them across the board are rugging. There's barely anything on Tron that's actually holding any type of like liquidity. It's just like a mass exodus of rugs. Just like the Trump coins. When the whole Trump thing was going on, 99% of them run. I think this Tron thing's a short-lived move. Not Tron itself. I think Tron does, like, especially if you look at the stablecoin, it does really well as far as trading, people moving liquidity around. But like, the shit coins on Tron, no bueno for me. I'm good on it.
Well, I do not know if you are talking about Tron or the entire crypto right now.
What's up? Oh, is that MAGA coin finally moving? Holy shit.
I mean, yes, but no. There have been so many pumps on this coin that I thought would bottom and it didn't.
And it goes up and it goes deeper.
I really thought we were going to rip on this after this candle, and they just sold into it repeatedly. Even here, man, I thought we were going to break out. It just hasn't. Maybe they bid it here, though.
Yeah, I like Filecoin too. We've talked about it quite a few times on the show. Once the market starts picking up and these projects start getting liquidity, they're going to need storage, and they typically move towards decentralized storage, and that'll be, you know, a couple different picks. I would say there might be some outliers I don't know about there, but I would say watch Filecoin, Filecoin when that starts becoming a narrative. Those would be the two, I think, the champions of that sector. And then maybe something else comes out of the woodwork eventually.
Good old Filecoin. What does that look like right now? I love how much you love Filecoin, Will.
I do, man. I know every cycle it plays, man. Every single cycle it plays. And people think that, it did. Every cycle it's been around, right? And same thing with Filecoin. Filecoin did well before Filecoin, and so on and so forth. And so
I think of alts that look like this right now.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I would say that's a bottom, bro. I would say that's a bottom.
Or are they going to make like another lower low? God forbid. Like,
no.
Like
so
another one,
Tommy,
another one that looks like this. Keep going.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I wouldn't even try and angle it. I would just do a straight line across and just hit all the lows, right? And just say anytime you come down there, you're at a bid range. Like, I wouldn't at all try to tell people, hey, this is some bullish structure, because I think it's still sideways for now.
Yeah. Jackus, what do you think about the Dino coin narrative that's kind of emerging right now?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I am shilling it to people. The Dino coin narrative makes so much sense because it's gonna be the most hated rally, and the under allocation is so big.
Oh
But
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just narrative. It may or may not play out. I mean, as long as the price action is telling you so, all good, right? And right now, it keeps telling me that the rotation is coming in, and that's all I care about. Though. But like we say, Dino coins, right? I think that like right now we have like 3 of them. We'll see if the rest joins too, right? Because and I suppose it depends on what you can call like a Dino coin. But yeah, like I probably wouldn't be betting Cardano, right? Like I wouldn't. But uh unless unless hypothetically speaking, right? Because I do not hold biases. Let's say that Cardano would somehow magically pump above 80 cents right now, right? And the rest of the market wouldn't. In that case, I would say like, all right, something is going on behind the scenes, which I do not know about. And at that point, it would be a play, right? Like if it pumps above 80 cents, above that key high it made in February / March, then yes. But until then, like I wouldn't be interested in this Dino coin. So it it really matters to say like what Dino coins in that regard, right? And it's also important to say that it's usually like Dino coins usually or like the big high cap coins usually pump the first. We saw that in like at the end of last year, we saw Link front running, right? Like Link was the first one pumping, and by November, it had most of its move done, right? And then we saw all of the garbage to follow up, and meme coins really only started to pump in March 2024. And that's where like Link was already pumped. So I think it will probably play out the same this time. You will see like the Dino coins and all of that make the first movers, and then you will see, as usual, the beta to rotate into high risk and then higher risk. And meme coins are obviously the highest ones. So we'll see if it really plays out like that again, timing wise. But usually that's the case, and that's kind of my take. And I really do think that AIF is looking amazing here and leading. Like AIF breaking this, we could say like 140 level. Once it breaks it, right? That's basically like what I just said about Cardano. Like that's Cardano at 80 cents, but Cardano is not doing that. AIF is. That to me is telling, hey, something going on with AIF, right? Like huge demand for AIF. And second, well, probably ETH beta is the meta, right? Probably like ETH is going to be moving with it as well. So, but as usual, the number one factor is watching the price action. So yeah, TRX, AIF, XRP right now, the hot ones. Doge is looking really good too. But yeah, Doge is a meme and usually runs the last. So kind of like that. Kind of like that.
Yeah, I tend to agree. What do you think about the little spike here on VIX, though, Tommy? Just out of curiosity, I don't know if you've been watching.
Yeah, I've been watching a little bit. I mean, I think some of it's probably hedging into Powell. For one, I think I will say there's a volatility trader I respect a lot on Twitter, and there are not many that I respect because most of them only know how to do like, oh, VIX is above 20. Let me just short it. Short vol. I like actually insightful commentary on volatility, and this guy is like he's been a TradFi market maker for like 20 years. He said the volatility skews kind of look a bit interesting into Friday. So he's not really in the camp that he thinks that it's going to be a snooze fest from Powell. I don't know what that would imply, but he also like I think it's just one of those things where I don't know if volatility is going to spike, but I don't know if I would want to be like short the VIX, for example, and into Powell, because we don't know what he's going to say. And if there's stuff under the hood that makes volatility look a little bit more bullish, maybe locally, then I guess that would speak to that a little bit. But I've always been kind of wondering since we sold off literally, we've been we sold off 75% from the local highs on the VIX. At what point, if ever, is there going to be a bounce on the VIX for just a complacency? And I do think that we could see that over the next few sessions, but we also don't have to, because momentum on the VIX is obvious, and really volatility has been pretty strong to the downside. So I don't know how much of a bounce I expect on it, but it is getting bid today.
I think the big complacency shoulder you're talking about comes like 2025, the soonest, like a bigger one to like, let's say above potentially like 30 or something. I don't think we see that until 2025. I think we will see like a small little spike here to retest, prior technical levels, speaking of like 1920, something like that, right? But it's probably going to like slowly keep grinding down now over the next period.
Yeah,
I tend to agree also. That's why I wanted to bring that up, because I just want I want all of our eggs to be on the table. So people are like, dude, vol, bro. What about the vol? Yeah, we see the vol. We see it. We notice it.
Though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying too, because I think like where we are right now with Bitcoin, with the S&P, with I can go across the board with many different ones, Nvidia, so on and so forth. We're kind of at that range to where you could see a vol spike and a dump, right? We're kind of at that range, which would just discourage traders even more. But you want to be able to understand that that's a potential here, and understand that you could see some kind of downtrend from where we are currently. Could I see the chart real quick, Tommy? Just for a second.
Oh yeah, go for it, Will.
Just to give an example, kind of what I'm talking about here, but I think it's a pretty obvious one. Oh, he just took off without giving it to me. Jackets, could you flip me the chart? There we go.
It's there.
All right, cool. So we can really kind of just get rid of all this stuff. I mean, the obvious play here, I think that a lot of people should kind of eyeball / watch, is just kind of this right here. And then this right here is kind of how we're trading at the moment. So with that being said, like we have to get above this range really to kind of see price swing to the upside. It would be ideal for a price to structurally move, to the upside from here, to move in a fashion similar to this into a breakout. That's a normal move for here, but these also sometimes tend to fail swing before they breakout swing. So what that looks like is something like this, a retest of the low, and then some kind of like structural breakout like this. So either one of these two could happen here, but I would say watch out, because this is still a potential in this range for this to occur before this. And this is where bears will get really loud, right? If this happens, because structure will have broken down. At least this is on the daily structure too for the audience. But at least on the daily structure, this is where bears will be extremely loud. But I would just kind of watch your low range, make sure that doesn't get violated, right? And make sure you kind of hold that area. As long as you hold that area, even if you do dip from here, like this is still structurally a sound move. And it should be an expected one if price doesn't do the atypical breakout here, right? So, and then it's not just that. I'm also seeing a potential of a pullback here with Nvidia. Right here, this is a high time frame resistance kind of playing out. We're underneath of it. If you to drop this down on the daily, it's a little more clean. But if you do break above this range right here, you're good, I think. But you have to break above with like a lot of force. You got to get like somewhere up to retesting all-time high. Then you probably get a pullback to range, and then you start doing this, right? Start going higher. But structurally,
You know what it looks like, Will?
Yeah.
The Tesla range that it's been in for I don't think it's going to be ranging for as long as Tesla has been, but that just massive flag that Tesla's been painting for the better part of 2 or 3 years. I kind of think that's what Nvidia is probably going to start to do around these prices.
This right here.
Yeah.
And here's the big dip, which we saw right here.
No, I think the dip on Tesla was, like if you look at the way that Tesla lines up, and I can share my chart after, but yeah, let me load the Tesla chart up real quick. Okay. Also, do you guys think it's going to be bullish or bearish for Tesla stock if Elon gets a cabinet position?
I think Tesla stock's setting up to be bullish regardless of what Elon does. Like,
I agree.
The setup's looking good.
I kind of think Nvidia is like right in here.
Yeah, it's in one of those.
They had this. They had obviously the drive into the high. We had the complacency bounce on Nvidia as well that ripped late shorts, and then the real sell-off. And even this sell-off looks a lot like what Nvidia just went through. Big complacency bounce. Overlaid, it looks pretty clean too. This is just kind of where I think the Nvidia trade is, and I say that because I look at some AI beta, for example, like SMCI, super microcomputer. Literally, that's like that reminds me of Internet Computer a little bit from from 2021. But yeah, SMCI looks like it's gonna, and I have a chart for this. Like it looks like the bubbles, at least on not ICP, but SMCI looks like textbook bubble popping PA to me. Like this should probably round out into Q1 or Q2 of next year. And I think what that means for Nvidia is probably what we just outlined, right? Like that probably means it plays out that Tesla fractal to some degree. You get the lower high, or the lower high, higher low right here, and it just kind of it ranges for a period of time and then it goes.
I mean, for me, if this comes to fruition, which I think is a possibility, right? Especially now, like I've been in the camp, I've been up the hills. I'm like, dude, once you broke structure here, now you have to be cautious, guys. Like, and that's what I've been saying over and over. But I would say, like, if that's a possibility for Nvidia, man, like I could see everything taking a hit if that ends up being the case. Like, it's not just going to be Nvidia, like. Bitcoin will take a hit. Everything will take a hit if Nvidia takes a big chunk to the downside like that. Like something catastrophic has to happen, and I don't think it has to happen to Nvidia. I think it has to happen to markets. And here's the thing: I got an S&P scenario that's kind of lines up with that synopsis too, which I'll show when you're done, kind of doing what you're doing.
I just think it's interesting how comparable these charts are potentially becoming, and I'll pass it to you after I say this one last little bit. But one of the things I was talking to Max about the other day was, we had Tesla in 2021 to 2022. We had Nvidia off this recent bear market low. Realistically, the next Nvidia is probably already in the NASDAQ. So like, what is that next tech narrative? While this distributes, there's probably going to be something that emerges in the meantime. I couldn't tell you for the life of me what I think it is, but I do think it's useful to understand that your next turbo bid on a tech stock is probably already a stock that you're aware of.
Yeah, I think like looking at, I mean, look at the rejection here. Like it's pretty crazy. They either have to really break out here, or this thing's gonna start coming back down, and you do have some gap fills lower. The other thing is too with I don't think I have an S&P chart up.
If Nvidia breaks the high, it's probably just going to re-enter parabola. Honestly.
Yeah, that's my thoughts. Also, I think that Nvidia going up would signify we're going a lot higher, right? We're going a lot higher. But one thing I've noticed, and you can see here, we're already heavily rejecting. I mean, this is a pretty high. That's a pretty high rejection right there. Because when I looked at this morning, I think we were up here, right? Like S&P is straight nuking. I don't know what's nuking it, but S&P is straight nuking. And this was basically a gap fill of right here, right? But I would say watch out, because look at this, bro. Look at that.
It's a big gap.
You see that?
I don't know. I mean, it could just do what it did last October, where it went straight up in a straight line and never left anybody or never let anybody bid it.
Well,
But I don't know if the conditions are quite the same because we were just coming off of like that huge treasury auction that was super bullish. Janet was cooking the books.
yeah, no, like I'm not expecting this, but I'm saying keep it in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Right? Like keep it in the back, because if you end up there, that's a place to bid, in my opinion. That's a place to bid. And that's why I wanted to point it out, because the daily gap there is pretty nasty. On the weekly, you can't really see a lot, and so it's harder to tell. But I can tell you, even though these are just daily time frames, a lot of these are getting filled. They are getting filled. I mean, the move up here was to fill the gap up here, and you tap the top almost on the money, and then you're already rejecting off of that gap fill. And that's what I'm kind of pointing out here, is like, if you get some kind of pullback, I would say like it moves something similar to this and you go higher, right? Like that's the way I would look at this structurally. And that's not a bad structure either if that occurs, right? That's actually a healthy pullback into a range, and then a nice sweep of liquidity, and then a push up higher. So obviously I was off here, and price went this way and tanked and basically ate the downside, filled the gaps, right? Like you filled so many gaps back here. Like look at this. You filled so many gaps back here, coming back into the range, that like honestly, like it's not even funny. You filled the gaps, you ran the gaps, you ran back up, you filled the gaps again, now back up to here, you filled gap, and then you ideally came all the way back up, filled the high time frame. And if your Nvidia play plays out, think about this. Here's this, and then Nvidia pullback, right? Like Nvidia, and here's the thing: Nvidia doesn't even have to pull back to like here. I think this liquidity zone has already been filled, as you can see. Nvidia could simply do, something like this. That's still going to be a big pullback, though. That's still going to be a big pullback. And then
wouldn't it be funny, Will, if we actually, I know everybody's been kind of saying that equities have been leading Bitcoin, but what if Bitcoin actually led equities from a structural standpoint? I know equities are above all-time highs, Bitcoin is not, but in the sense that Bitcoin's been in a range for 5 or 6 months, what if boomers have to sit through a multi-month range now finally as well? I think that would be pretty ironic for everybody saying that equities are leading crypto.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I personally think it would be interesting. I think that watching this kind of play out, that's what I think is currently happening. I think their parabola arc is coming to a sideways and chop range where they're going to get bored and they're going to get pissed. And what do people do when they get bored and pissed? What do, Tommy? Do they sit there and just wait? Typically,
they rotate.
They rotate to something more interesting, and the capital could rotate.
I mean, I think the AI trade.
No, I have to disagree. When people are bored, they jump in onto 1 minute time frame. They slide the leverage to the right side and just gamble their shit out.
That's
so
real.
It's gone. It's gone.
I think it makes sense to see a rotation out of AI and into probably other sectors coming. I just couldn't tell you what sectors I think those are going to be.
Yeah, and you're starting to see the. Oh, go ahead.
What likes we at, guys?
It's a good question.
Because I was about to go and talk about something, or we can go to the soybean chart.
I fear we're going to have to go to the soybean chart.
It is what it is. Once again, guys, disappointed.
How do we find the soybeans? There's no soybeans in crypto, unfortunately, guys. So we're going to go with these ones. So we got go to
the Dollar General chart.
Oh my! What is going on here? What is? Do I have an indicator on here? Like what is this?
This is your brain on drugs.
It looks bearish, though. I have no idea what it is, but it looks bearish.
It says soybean. FOB Santos Platts soybean futures. Okay, they have futures on it. So we're doing dollar. Oh, DG.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
guys have to look at the Dollar General chart.
we
On
get
a
to
lower
study poverty. All right, study it.
Man, oh man.
He reported the video.
No, don't worry. I shop here too. Study poverty. Let's see. Let's try. Oh, we got a 1 minute. I don't know if that's low enough, but structure here looks. Oh, look! It looks like Bitcoin.
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
It looks like Bitcoin, except I think this is a swing fail. Because this high up here, and now you're here, and so if you guys want to scalp trade it, we could probably get to something like this, and then they come back up.
Tommy, we went to soybeans, but maybe the audience doesn't know why. Maybe you want to remind them.
Yeah. So, guys, if you're new here, we do this thing where, look, the like button. If we didn't have to have it, we wouldn't. But unfortunately, the gods, the people who love to LARP as our fake deities over and that run the tech algorithms really like when we hit the like button. So that is why we ask you guys very kindly. And sometimes we give you guys a little bit of a push in the back through the form of soybeans or through the form of really, really boring charts so that you can hit the like button and we can return to charting yours and our favorite assets. But yeah, the Dollar General chart is your punishment today because we only had 130 likes with 330 live viewers, and I know we can do better than that. I'd love to see us get back up to like 180 to 200, and then we can we'll go back to crypto and obviously equities. We're at 171 right now. If you guys could throw us like 10 or 15 more likes, we will stop sharing the Dollar General chart. But until then, Will's going to keep doing TA on the 1 minute.
I will say this. C. Tugent said he reported the video. We appreciate that. It gets more eyes on it. Even if it's from the report team on YouTube.
You see this comment, Will?
More chip. Yes. Chip. Altcoin waterboarding analysis.
If you guys missed the Tuesday show, you should watch it again. We cooked a lot of alpha in there, and then the end of the show was very much like comedic relief. It was a great show, but yeah, shout out to Chimp for coming on Tuesday.
There it is. Gap fill, Dollar General. All right. Your Dollar General prices are coming down. Stagflation.
I didn't, to be honest, like we are going to Dollar General or soybeans, but we can just as easily go to freaking Bitcoin right now. I would say it's maybe even more boring.
More like ETH right now, right?
Make the most Bitcoin.
It's been somewhat volatile, but like ETH has just been pinned. We did hit the like threshold, by the way, Will, so we don't have to look at the Dollar General.
Oh man, I was gonna try to buy this granular thing, whatever that was. All right. Well, I guess we'll go back.
Thank you guys.
There is some TWAP sell on ETH right now in like 5 minutes. Maybe you wanna check that out, Tommy, with some nice on-chain metrics or so.
Somebody has definitely been selling ETH. It's probably Jump because yeah, they're just they're full stacking everything right now.
Full G-ting?
Yeah, I mean they're basically liquidating all of their crypto actively.
I'm not gonna lie, I think ETH comes back down, man. Like this, it looks like it's cooling back down.
Wise man once said, "Never miss an opportunity to FUD ETH."
This looks.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it doesn't look.
Yeah, somebody's definitely been swapping out of this, Jackus. You're right.
Yeah, right. It seems like.
Spot CVD down only since New York open.
Yeah, that's what I mean. when I look at the price, it looks exactly like that. Just fucking dog shit. We are, by the way, guys, we are at literally the same price we were 14 days ago. Like 2 weeks ago on Thursday, check price, the same price.
Not good price, the same price.
Not good price, the same price.
The interesting thing to me about ETH is that off the local lows, Bitcoin's open interest has at least risen by almost 2.5 billion. ETH's open interest is at almost the exact same level as the dump, which just shows. And I say this, like, open interest does not, just because it rises doesn't mean it's bearish, and just because it's falling doesn't mean it's bullish. It's just shows people are openly interested in trading the coin, and there's no OI coming in on ETH that's of any significance. It's still coming in on Bitcoin, which I don't really understand when I look at like the ETH Bitcoin and Sol ETH pairs. This seems to be, at least to me, the spot you would want to be bidding if you're a bull, given the look of those pairs. But I would also argue it's bullish that you haven't gotten any open interest come in yet.
The ETH BTC chart's pretty interesting. It's almost like we ran up, coming right back down into it again. But I will say, like, this is I can't not be bullish here, right? Like, this is, I can't unsee this range. I can't unsee it. Like, this. If there's ever been a better support range, it has to be here. Like, if you go lower than this, ultimately ETH's probably going to zero. That's my only perspective. Like, you have to see ETH hold this range. It's got to hold this upper range. It can't be violating it. We don't have to look at that. None of this.
I do think if ETH Bitcoin breaks down from this channel, you're probably not getting all-time highs on it again for quite a period of time. But I'm leaning more in the camp that it's going to bounce out of this region, which, like I said, better men than me have tried to call the bottom on this pair, and it's just kept bleeding. But it's got to be here.
Yeah, I mean, this area reminds me of Bitcoin down in like this area down here, right? Like where you just had to hold that range or you were just going to zero. And they held it, right? They didn't buy it, because ideally if Bitcoin would have came back up here and broken out above this, used it as support, and started breaking below this, I probably would have been targeting lower prices. I like
that comparison, Will. Like, I definitely see what you're saying.
Yeah, you had to hold this or you were going to get absolutely cooked. And I don't think there would have been much support below here. You would have just came straight back down into the low range and probably deeper. Yeah. And so when it comes to ETH BTC, it's almost exactly in that same range. And here's the thing: even if ETH doesn't form a new high, like study this area right here, 1, 2, and study this right here being the whole bull cycle, and basically doing this, and then doing this, and then doing this finally for the next cycle, right? And maybe we don't see anything as far as higher highs this cycle when it comes to Ethereum, Bitcoin.
Well, I need that TA on that meme on the right side. I need description. What is going on? Bro.
There you go.
That's the TA I was looking for.
I love that you have Algorand on that chart too. That's the most Will's Outlook thing ever.
He's the short one.
Were you around when Will was still charting algo?
Yeah.
I feel like that was probably right towards the beginning of when you came on. Will was looking at algo.
It was a good time. It was a good time. And now we're here. Now we're here with the big six.
At one point, even Gary Gensel was a fan of Algorand before he got rugged and turned to be a crypto hater.
That is true. That is true. Study the Fed. Study the Fed. Study Gary Gensler. Study the SEC. Study them all. All right.
Sick.
They're coming for your Bitcoin.
These guys keep telling me to study. I have studied and I do not know what's going on anymore. I have studied enough, boss.
Bro, but look, all I'm gonna say is Nvidia.
Yeah, while we were speaking, they started selling the shit out of it.
Holy crap, that's not good. This is not what you want to see. You do not want to see. This is like a swing fail if it closes like this. This is absolutely a swing fail. It's a trap meme, right? They ran it up, failed shoulder, ran it up a second time, and then dumped. And then they'll just keep dumping if that ends up closing like that. That's gonna be bad.
It's a trap.
And
what is his name? What is his name? And it's a Star Wars reference, right?
Yeah, it's a Star Wars. Yeah.
What is his like Admiral? Somebody in the comment section is gonna know it. I almost guarantee it, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's man. Study traps.
Akbar.
ETH haters.
Admiral Akbar.
Admiral Akbar. Is that it? I think that's right.
Yeah.
This one's getting pretty interesting too. Look at this one, Tommy. That's an engulfing candle if I ever saw one. That's an engulfing candle. This is not what you want to see, right? That's not what you want to see. But this is what I was talking about this morning before we got to where we are. And really, I mean, even Sol looks like it wants to straight G. Like it looks like it wants to come straight back down.
I've been tempted, and I know I said earlier on the show, like I'm very much just trying to sit on my hands right now and do nothing. But Sol ETH is a trade I would actually consider taking from a pair standpoint, because you can take it delta neutral. I think Sol ETH is about to have an elevator down candle, probably in the very near future. Like I'm looking for 0.038 within a week or two, which would be, I think, like a 30 to 40% reduction on the pair.
It's not elevator, it's bungee jump.
Bungee
off a bridge.
Jump down, then bounce back up, then jump down. Oh man, I don't want to see that. I do not want to. Yeah, this would be bad if that ends up starting happening, because then you're looking at much lower price. Like, here's the thing: worst case scenario, I'd say you're looking at here, right? Worst case scenario. Best case scenario, you hold the range up here. Best case scenario. So somewhere's in here is your downside potential. Somewhere's in there.
I mean, Sol's been trading like it's getting news. I will say that. Like, it's just, it went from being the strongest asset to just every time we hit range high, there's a seller that steps in and they're like, no, sir, you're not coming through here. And then really over the last week and a half, it's just been Sol ETH has been almost flat since Monday, but it's been really weak, in my opinion, from a structural standpoint, where Sol ETH looked like it was set for price discovery. You would want it to be just ripping through this level. And I think it's gearing up for a pullback on the ETH pair, which might just mean that ETH is about to chad to the upside, or the alternative.
Yeah, all it takes is ETH outpacing Solana, and Solana doesn't have to pull back at all. That's all it takes. But the price action here looks just straight to the right, and you don't want to see straight to the right price action when you're in the middle of nowhere. There's no support here. Like ideally you're looking to break down or break out from here in the immediate term. I'd say within weeks. So
you know why I think it's really underperforming, Will, is because people the bid since last October has kind of run out. And I want to say since that low that Sol set after, I think it was the Robinhood, when Robinhood said they were going to delist Solana, and then Sol dumped to I think it was $17. The Sol supply has inflated almost 40% since then. And when the market has not had that same bid to sustain it, it's just taking a lot longer to be able to digest that, because when Sol supply inflates, which has largely been because of the meme coin boom, particularly on pump.fun, Oh crap! I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, when it's when its supply inflates to that degree. No, I forgot my train of thought. That's tough, but
So,
I'll remember
well,
it at some
I
point.
hate when that happens to me. I know exactly how I feel.
I think I had the general consensus. So you were talking about the meme coin boom, right? And I think that kind of comes back to the bigger picture of us discussing fundamentals, right? And the VC coins starting to pump and starting to see a bid, right? Because if we're seeing VC coins start to catch a bid and VC coins start to pump, it's not because we expect them to move immediately, but we're expecting a capital rotation potential here. And if a capital rotation is moving into fundamentals, it's not moving into Solana. And I don't mean that as in Solana doesn't have fundamental, I would say importance or fundamental standing. It's just that all the money existed in Solana. Now you're seeing that money flow out to fundamentals and not into Solana anymore. So you're dumping, right? Which is what Solana is doing when it continues to inflate its number of tokens.
Right. And
Your
when you
dumping
consider
cannot be sustained.
and when you consider that the inflated, and this is, I remember what I was going to say, when you consider that the inflated supply goes to validators of the chain, who are the validators of Solana? But VCs. So the meme coins, everybody thinks they're like partaking in the meme coin super cycle to stick it to VCs on Solana. And the people who are getting paid the most are Solana VCs. It's kind of ironic, but it does explain the recent SOL weakness, in my opinion.
Yeah, if there wasn't a weakness, then I would say that my fundamental thesis would be cooked, right? But there is a weakness. It's showing the weakness, and it's feeding more into, where is the liquidity flow going? It's probably going to fundamental coins and other L1s, other projects that are on L1s, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty interesting. But if we're gonna see that ETH BTC, I would say ETH Solana flip, I think it also comes back to fundamentals. Why? Because it's not just shitcoins that exist on Ethereum specifically. Ethereum has a lot of fundamental coins that exist on Ethereum. And so if you start to see Ethereum get bid, it's because fundamentals are also getting a bid with Ethereum. And that when Ethereum starts to get bid and the rotation starts to happen to Ethereum, I would say ideally it's probably because people are rotating capital to more sound positions versus, risky positions, which means Solana down, Ethereum up for fundamentals thesis.
I still think SOL will hit these lofty targets that people seem to have for it, right? Like 900, $1,000, probably higher by 2030. But I mean, it's just supply and demand at the end of the day. We need more liquidity to come into crypto. And so right now you kind of have this dynamic where, right, like momentum kind of died a bit on the SOL uptrend. And now the market's being forced to digest all the supply that came onto the market that wasn't a tailwind until price started distributing. But SOL will be fine. SOL will be fine. I think my bearishness on it is more on like a multi-week basis more than it's like a multi-month or multi-year basis.
Yeah, I think the majority of your move has been done in SOL. Like I think you'll probably still hit your 500 to 800s maybe, but like you came from $8, and a lot of people tend to forget that you came from $8. That means people are up a lot of X's when they get if you get to 800. Go ahead and do the math there. That's 100x for some people. They're not worried about Solana going to 1,000 or Solana going to 1,500. Like VCs seeing 100x, they're gonna be like, all right, start clipping millions. Just start clipping millions out. Like we're getting out of this shit. We're already up 100x, and they're gonna move on.
The interesting thing about SOL is that it's almost graduated into it's graduated into a tier above the other VC coins, but not quite into Bitcoin ETH territory. Like the beta, some people will tell you that it has, right, graduated into the Bitcoin ETH tier, but I think the overall volatility on SOL, when we do see downside, would kind of disagree with that a little bit. So I think it's kind of like in its own niche right now. Where for later in the cycle, it'll probably graduate more into that Bitcoin ETH tier, but it's not there just yet. I do think the rotation out of Sol should probably be good for other quote unquote utility coins, but yeah, I mean, obviously I know you really like Sui. Well, what has it been doing the last few days? I haven't quite kept an eye on it.
Sui's been doing good, man. A lot of people LOL me. That's fine. That's okay. And I will say this too. Ondo, right? Ondo. One Ondo for a condo. We know the deal. Non-display. No, I don't know if Ondo will stay bullish forever. To be honest with you, I like the meme it, but
I feel
I
like
did bid
Maker
Ondo.
is the better. Maker seems like the better real world asset bet right now.
Yeah, Sui, I think it's a sleeper, man. I think this. I'm so bullish. Like it's a fundamentally sound coin that I think a lot of people are just not paying attention to, which is really interesting. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people not paying attention specifically to something that, you know, I'm interested in because those tend to play out well. I mean, even the ICP run, LOL, ICP never coming back. What did it go from like $3 to like 20 something before it came back down again? Like the X's are real if you pay attention to where the liquidity is. But I will say higher high structure here, kind of breaking out, but you did hit your resistance, which I was looking for. And I was kind of pointing out your round top here, and it played right into it, right? Started veering back down. But I think the second you come back into this round top scenario, which we haven't done yet, right? I think in that scenario, you're probably a bit higher. You'll probably bid higher. So right now you fell below it, which is ideal. Your half circle, and now we're kind of rejecting off of previous resistance. But I think what you're doing here, you set up the downtrend. I think you're slowly veering into support, right? And I think you're going to bounce somewhere in here. And then you're going to start doing this. At least that's what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for something like this. If this doesn't end up holding here and ends up breaking down, well, shit, I guess I'm riding this shit all the way down to like 50 cents, right?
But yeah, coins like this are interesting to me, Will, because you have like I mean, it seems like clear levels of demand, which triggered the response. I'm not going to chalk it up to short closing explicitly, but you know, it's clear that some of these coins have hit levels of demand where buyers are interested in buying. That's not necessarily me advocating for like buying here, but I do think it's worth paying attention to the coins that have bounced the hardest off these recent lows, because they're probably going to be the coins that in Q4 end up getting bid the hardest.
Yeah, especially something like this. Like this was a large liquidity injection, right? To just expect this to fully retrace, there's nowheres in this downtrend that we've gotten this much bid. So it reminds me kind of like Bitcoin, a little bit different, right, as far as setup. But if we come over here and I'll give you kind of the TA perspective, but Bitcoin here at the lows, right, when we caught this bid, everybody thought this was a fake out and that we were going to start trending back down. And then what did they do? They rode it into support, right, into support, and then they ran it up again. Then they ran it into that support, ran it up again, ran into that support, and then started trending, right? And I think that ideally this initial swing is what initiated this whole move. And if you come over to Sui, very similar swing here. Very similar swing. We got the big breakout. We're getting the slow grind back into support. And I think that ultimately this thing is gonna moon. I think it'll do well. I don't know if it'll be this quick. Maybe it'll sit here and do this for a while, right? But ultimately, I'm looking for this mood to be sustainable. I don't know if that makes sense.
I like the Sui Bitcoin pair here as well. Like it, I think it'll go sideways probably around these prices, and then pop at some point in Q4. It will be a hated rally, and I might even own some, and I'll still hate the coin, but.
I mean, but look at this bid here. Do you see anywheres where Sui's gotten this big of a bid? Nowheres, man. Like absolutely nowheres. That's why I'm like I'm even more interested now than I was before. And it's the same thing here with Bitcoin. When we were at these lows, I'm gonna be really adamant about this area right here specifically. And I think if people see this scenario occurring on other coins, they should pay attention to them and point them out. Because if you're getting big bids, it's price interest. There's interested buyers, like massive interested buyers at those ranges. Again, big bid, grind back in to range lows, and then pop right here. Big bid, grind back into range lows, and then I think what'll be pop, because you have a lot of price action here. It's not just here too. It was previous resistance over here.
Speaking of popping, Will, have you been paying attention to your local Popcat holder?
I have not.
They got a Nance Perps listing today.
Oof.
Some would say that's bearish. I guess it depends on perspective.
Remember this area right here? And I basically said, either you're going to break to the upside here or you're going to swing fail. You're now underneath resistance. It's go time, right? If people are really interested in MOG right now, this is go time. You gotta either bid this thing up or we're coming right back down to these lows. It's one of the two.
I'm still bag holding this coin from the top. So I'm a member of the community now.
But this is a really interesting place for price. I will say that. Like, if we could even drag this down a little bit, I would say like you have to hold this range. If you don't hold this range for MOG, you're coming back down to your 0.00, how many ever zeros, 41127, which is going to be a minus 58%, 59%. If it ends up pulling back into there. If not, then you're good. You're fine. This will be
just a little casual 50% correction. Otherwise, you're good. No, I agree though. As far as like meme coins go, and that's kind of why I think, like, relatively speaking, at least on a lower time frame, a lot of these utility coins do look so much better than meme coins, right? Like, because utility coins have been in a downtrend for so much longer than meme coins. If there is going to be like any weakness in majors, meme coins probably just do what meme coins do, where they're wildly inefficient and then catch up to upside or downside in a few candles.
Yeah, usually what I look for in any coin is like, this is why here's the thing, ICP may not be that great this cycle, but the one thing I tend to look for, and I think it'll do well this cycle, but I think it'll do phenomenal in other cycles.
Well,
this is where I think you should be buying.
Do you know that ICP is, I think, getting listed on the CME group?
You're joking.
I did not know that.
I think it is. I think they made the announcement.
What?
Well, that's good. That's a good thing I bought this.
What? Jackus, it's August, not April. You can't joke with me like that.
I'm not.
What? There you go. So now you should be buying. Look.
I think they announced it like 2 months ago or something.
The chart does not look that bad. Look at that, Tommy. Tell me you don't see it. Tell me you don't see it.
I see it. I just don't know if I'm strong enough to accept that pump into my life, Will.
Tell me you don't see it, bro. I'm telling people, look, I always tell people, like, if you can do a half circle on the bottom, you're good. You're good. You want that arc in your life. You want that arc. And
looks
that
a little
arc
bit
is
like
looking
good. Locally. Like the consolidation whiff is putting in reminds me a lot of what that ICP structure looks like over the last few weeks.
It's a strong range, man.
Listen, guys. It's from 10th July. CME Group and CF benchmarks to launch 2 new cryptocurrency reference rates and real-time indices on July 29th. It was ICP and XRP.
Hey.
There it is.
I'll be honest, Jackus was getting me pretty bullish on XRP yesterday. I've had some doodles on it that have been sitting on my chart for a while, and I think they're finally starting to play out. But I
Yeah.
won't say that I think that Dino coins will lead altcoins out of the gulag, but I do think that we're not far away from Dino coins catching a pretty strong bid.
Yeah, this
It must
this
be.
looking good.
It must be now. Not
Yep.
longer, not next year's. Now.
Yeah, I think front running a lot of, because here's the thing: if these ecosystems start to get built on, start to catch a bit in the bull, like having a lot of these L1 tokens will allow you bigger access to many different things in their ecosystem. Even if you miss the ecosystem popping off, if you're already exposed to the L1s, when the ecosystem pops off, you have lots of gunpowder essentially, right, to shoot off. It's just like the people that bought a lot of Solana at $8 to $10 and $20. Now
Is
they have a
ICP
lot
a
of Solana to
L1?
shoot off. Yeah, it's essentially an internet computer, and you can do anything with it. Like if you go on there, all their
I feel
stuff
like that's such
has
a broad name; it could literally do anything.
no. I mean, like so what they're considered is the Internet of Things, right? Like it's a decentralized internet, but the token itself can be utilized like an L1 essentially. You can use it for many different projects within their ecosystem. You can stake it. You can make changes, like I forget what it's called, but whatever it is, where you can stake your stuff to, like, I guess basically what is it called? Vote on decisions and so on and so forth.
Oh, your governance?
Governance, yeah. You can use it as a governance token. You can use it as a staking token. You can use it as many different things. I have like 300 locked up, and I don't remember my passcode, but it is what it is. I have more on my ledger. But
Don't you love when that happens? I love one of the things that I love about crypto is, like, you lose money along the way that you'll eventually find during a bull run, and you're like, oh wow, when did I have this? And all of a sudden it's worth 20 times what you remember it as being. I just like, yeah, you accumulate a bunch of assets in crypto, and then in a bull run they become liquid. You'd be wise to sell those assets into the liquidity if you do finally get it. Even though it's nice to stumble upon free money. I remember a bunch of people did that last cycle with Telcoin. People were like, oh yeah, I just remember investing a few $100 in this last cycle, and now it's worth like 40 or 50 grand.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. Oh yeah, Jackus has the CME group. Yeah, you're right. Holy shoot. ICP is in CME group.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe, like, how does ICP have a CME futures before Sol?
Well, nobody's talking about it either, Tommy. You know what
That's
that is,
wild
right?
to me, man.
That's called opportunity. That's what that's called. Take advantage. But yeah, this is man, this is kind of throwing me off a little bit. What do you think about this, Tommy? With the way
Apple?
Nvidia looks and everything else. Look at
I haven't paid as close of attention to Apple since the whole flash crash a few weeks ago, but honestly, it looks pretty damn good, doesn't it? As a whole. I mean, I guess it could just end up. Oh my God, can you imagine if it ends up doing another range? Like right here.
If you look there, it looks like we're going to go higher and then just sit there in range. Like that's a fractal I took from like over here, right? I took it from right here to over here, and I just overlaid it, and we'll just sit here and literally do this forever.
I kind of feel like a good. Sorry to cut you off. Well, I think a good pair to trade Apple with, like if you are long Meta, short Apple over the next decade, I think that will be a pretty good pair as a whole, because Apple is it's more of like it's not a growth stock, but that's how people still treat it. But I don't think at this point that Apple is really going to be like, the growth has kind of already happened on it. Whereas with Meta, I think there's still a lot more fundamental room for everything that Meta is building to appreciate. Whereas Apple kind of needs to reinvent their business a little bit to grow at the same level.
Hold on, you say they don't need to reinvent shit. They're just too high a cap.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like Apple is not a growth.
They need to start a whole new company and just like literally implode this one.
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
the only way they're going to grow again.
And Anish says it well. Like, it's kind of reached a saturation point. It's not a growth stock, but people kind of view it as a growth stock. And I think a lot of the growth from Apple has kind of already been completed from an innovation standpoint. But that doesn't mean I'm bearish
It
on
was.
Apple. I just think they're assets that are going to fundamentally probably have more reasons to appreciate over the next decade.
What it reminds me of is shitcoins that reach $1 billion market cap, and then everybody was aiming for $1 billion, and then all of a sudden now they're talking about 10 billion, 20 billion, and it's like, it's not going to happen, bro. This is where the distribution starts, and now you're not going anywhere, and that's what Apple reminds me of. It's like it's so saturated with liquidity that there's no point in ever buying it. There's zero reason for an average person to buy Apple. None.
At this point, I kind of agree.
Yeah,
It's kind of like IBM of the past.
Yeah, I like that.
And look at IBM. Look at IBM now. You know, that's a great example. Yeah, I would never tell anybody like they're like, hey, bro, should I buy Apple? No, you can do calls, you can do puts, but there's no point in buying
power
it.
of leverage.
Yeah. You're the exit liquidity at this point. That's what you are. Doesn't matter how much it grows.
I do think Meta is a good stock for the future, though. For a large cap.
think it does matter buying like lesser volatile assets with less risks. You can do it on a more conservative portfolio where you are basically booking your profits into, right? So it's like kind of like if you want to book profits from lots of your memes or low caps in crypto, you can, for example, book them into BTC or ETH, right? And just have it there and make it like a retirement plan for yourself, which is still way better than anything in like what your government offers you. So I view some of these stocks like the same way, right? Like you want to book some of your profits from crypto and have more diversified portfolio across different asset classes. And you can just put it, which doesn't mean like buy Apple when it's mooning, right? Like you at least want to do it like, is Apple minus 20% down? Well, that's a good time to put some of your profits into it, right? Because it's a working company with well-structured, workspace in it. But as you said, it's not gonna like do insane multiples from here. It's too big of a market cap, but it's gonna appreciate nicely anyway. So that's kind of the way I view it.
Here's I guess this is just my opinion, right? This is just my opinion. I think if you have the capital, and I think you would need this much capital to really make any money in Apple. A couple $100 isn't gonna do shit for you. If you had like $300,000 to $500,000, I think you'd be better off buying a house or land. I think you'd have better appreciation than you would in Apple. I'll just throw it out there, right?
I think I feel like real estate is more of a lifestyle choice than an investable asset at this point. But keep going, Jackus.
I think there are pros and cons to all of these. So like I do agree that, especially at some countries, buying real estate is definitely a better option. But also there is a problem that when you buy real estate, there is lots of paperwork. It's not liquid. It takes lots of time. You still have to take care of it. Like realistically, you have to take care of it. Versus if you buy a stock, you just buy it through your computer and that's it, right? So that maintenance is a key feature too. And I think both make sense, but people need to understand them and maybe even have some like connection to them, right? Like let's say you're an Apple fan, well then it's probably better to hold Apple stock, right? But maybe you love like taking care of houses or whatever. Yeah, probably better to have more allocation if you have that much money to buy real estate. So yeah.
The reason I brought up the real estate, and I know there would be maintenance involved with it, is because like if you look at real estate growth versus Apple growth, you would have outpaced Apple significantly over like a 10-year period or whatnot. But
Not to mention, Will, I think there is going to be a growing issue with real estate across the Western world, where there is just, because you know how it works, right? If you have access to capital and you have lots of it, you're essentially just lending more money to buy more houses, and then you are lending you're borrowing even more money to buy even more houses. And so what it has ended up to nowadays is that like very rich people get access to lots of capital so that they can buy more houses. They own like 30 to store their wealth into it. And it does make logical sense, but it creates a huge problem where young generation cannot afford the housing. And in the US, you guys think it's bad because it takes like 7 to 8 yearly salaries. But in Europe, like in England, it's currently like 9 to 11. And in my country, it's like 15 to 20, and it's getting absurd in the Western world. And so what I think is going to happen is that there is going to be a big pressure for they will either do high taxation on any additional houses, right? So like if you own 2 or more, you're gonna pay like 50% taxation or something like that. There are multiple ways to do it, and or they will simply make it not worth it, in other words, to own as much. So I think there is going to be a growing issue with owning real estate going into the future in that regard.
I totally agree, Jackass. I think a lot of the wealth effect that we've seen in America is, I mean, it's directly tied to housing. I saw a statistic this week that 1 in 15 Americans are millionaires. But okay, at face value, that's like, holy hell, how are so many people millionaires? But if you remove home equity from that equation, that number is going to drop like a freaking rock. And so you've had, like you said, a bunch of people who have benefited from having, I mean, literally like a massive wealth generation coming from owning a home. That's not just explicitly like price appreciation on the real estate itself, but all of the leverage that affords you to be able to borrow against your home, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's at some point there is an inflection point, whether it's going to be through taxation or maybe it comes in the form of what we saw in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where they really they raised the crap out of interest rates. I'm not really sure what's going to fix the problem, but for new homeowners, it's becoming more and more infeasible to become a first-time homeowner.
I think the take with high interest rate is actually worth keeping in mind too, and that's a good addition, Tommy. Go on, Will. Sorry. Not hearing you. Not hearing you.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I did a little math here. So if you invested $10,000, right, just $10,000 in Apple 20 years ago, and you reinvested all your dividends, you would be today worth $4.85 million. So that kind of tells you the growth that Apple's seen in the past 20 years. Like that, to think that a company, we always have to keep in mind diminishing returns, right? To think that a company can keep growing at that rate is mathematically impossible. And so because their growth has been so significant, they may see a decade of just cool off, right? So what will liquidity do when it's exiting Apple on all the new buyers? Well, it's going to probably rotate to smaller cap things. And I would say ideally, like I know somebody mentioned Tesla. Tesla's even a large cap, and I think Tesla could probably reach 3 trillion to 4 trillion. It could probably catch up to Apple, right, in time. I think they're just better opportunity, though. What do I mean by better? I mean like your Lucids, your Rivians, your Neos. Like if you're looking at Tesla specifically, I would look at the competition and kind of pick out of the competition what I think would be the better pick. I mean, even some people say even BYD, right, would be a competition play. Me personally, when I'm looking at Tesla, I'm like, all right, what's the beta to Tesla? I would argue it's Rivian, Lucid. And for Asian markets, I would say it's Neo. I wouldn't even say BYD. BYD is more of like a general market for the world or whatnot. They sell gas cars and electric cars, whereas like these car companies specifically are electric. So because they're specific, and one of them being Lucid is heavily bid by the Saudis. And that's not me sitting there like making shit up like people do in crypto all the time. It's a real deal. They own a shit ton of the company. And so, and the prince just gave away a Lucid car for one of the winners at one of, I forget what it was, like a match or something like that, or a meeting, I forget what it was, but he gave away the whole car to one of the people there. Like, these people are so deep invested in the Lucid, it's not even funny. So like, when I look at growth potential, I look at these companies that big money is playing with, and they have very low market caps. And I'm like, okay, where's my opportunity to catch the next Tesla? And I was in Tesla before the first split. I just want to be clear about that. And where's my next, my next opportunity for next Apple, or so on and so forth? You have to dig these out. You can't just listen to the normal conversations that you hear at work: buy Tesla, buy Apple, buy Google, yada, yada, yada. You need to look for these sub companies and try to find out where your better RR, risk to reward, is. Now, granted, Tesla has a great foothold on the market, but these other companies could definitely come in and on the car sales side and compete and give you significant returns in comparison, even on call positions and puts. You can see right here, Lucid, we did calls on these for 531 roughly, or I think it was $5, something like that, in the $5 range. Or no, it was 450s. I think it was 450s. I have to look at my books real quick, but I think it was 450s for January. And you can see right here, like, this thing's already moving pretty heavily. There's a lot of good news for Lucid. Rivian, I think, comes down a bit before it goes up, but I think there'll be good news for that also, because I think you're going to gap fill into this range. But I mean, if you're looking at high caps to low caps look like they're better RR versus like something like an Nvidia or an S&P or any of these higher cap, basic companies. I would say you're better RRs in these lower caps. So just throwing it out there, food for thought for our audience, giving you guys a little bit of alpha. But this is where I'm kind of betting my money at the moment, is I'm putting it on these lower cap companies and be like, all right, I think these have the better risk to reward. And I'm also betting on fundamentals right now in crypto. So kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You will always, like, if you want to outsize the returns, you gotta go through the dumpsters and look for coins with high potential of growth and low market caps. It's the same in stock market as it is in crypto. Like, you will not make, like, you can make great returns still with Bitcoin, but like not as great as you can make with mid caps, right? Like, it's gonna be like that always. So like, Bitcoin can still easily go like 300% higher from here, and it's gonna be amazing, but it's not really 3,000, right?
Here's the thing for me. A lot of people, they don't want to see downside, so they'd rather buy an Nvidia and chop sideways for 5 to 10 years and then go up, versus like buy a Rivian or a Lucid and see 25, 30% pullback and then go up, 30, 40 X's from, within that same period of time. So that's really the difference in mindset between me and a lot of different people. I can deal with drawdown if I'm wrong on where the range is.
By the way, do you think what I think has that big potential of like high access in stock market? Baba.
Do I what? Oh, Baba. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I like Baba
about.
too. Look, Baba is, bruh. We talked about it. Like, that thing looks absolutely phenomenal. And Baba's been on my list for a long time. I just haven't come back to visit it yet. But like, I think your potential here is really good. Like, you're so low here.
Do you know what's gonna happen? Well, it's currently at 82. It's gonna go probably to like 2,000, and then they will do stock split.
Yep. Yep. And then it'll be right back at 800 again, and they'll be like, or 82 again, right? And then everybody like, guys, it's 82 again. Everybody buy. It reminds me of Tesla.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, the growth potential for that one is just so big. But again, it's not gonna be like, over a span of a week or the year. Like, we are at, ending phases of 2024. Like, for Baba to be trading, from $82 where it is right now to let's say 800, right? 80, yeah, 820, right? So let's make it 1,000%. I think it goes higher than that, but it's gonna take like 3-5 years, possibly, right? It's a big company anyway. So those are great access, but just people will not play it. Lots of people will not play it because they just want it now.
You know what Baba reminds me of? It's not the same setup, right? It's not the same setup. But ultimately, if you look over here at Meta, like Meta had this same shit happen to it, right? Where it
True.
just literally just tanked. And granted, it V-shaped recovered, right? I think Baba takes a bit longer, obviously being Chinese stock, but I think it's going to start having that arc where it just starts doing the same thing Meta did here. I mean, imagine if you bought Meta here, guys. Like, imagine if you weren't scared. It's a 500% move. Now, some of you be like, oh, I've done better than that in crypto, and you probably lost it all too. You probably lost it all too. You might have done better, but you more than likely gave it all back at the same time. So did it ever matter, right? This is a clean 500% move without having to do anything but just buy it. That was it. And if we see a similar move here, again, if people are always like, oh, what can I just buy and hold? You know, if Baba gets up to that $2,000 marker right there that you're talking about, Jackus, in the next 20 years, that's a $10,000 on 2,000%, almost 2,400%. Do the math. Right?
You used a good calculation with Apple, because I believe you used like 10K, right? So if you invested 10K to Apple 10 years ago and you reinvested all of your dividends, you made it from 10K to like 4.4 million. I think you used that analogy. Yeah.
Use that analogy. Exactly. And if you use that analogy with a lot of these, you can make money. You don't have, like, crypto is a thing that we like to play on a daily basis. I think there's a lot of great things about crypto, you know, as far as the P2P and everything else. Decentralization, nobody can stop your money flow, so on and so forth. I think all that's great, being able to move money in and out as you want to. But there's a lot of good picks in the stock market if you're just looking to make money. So we're just kind of showing that for the audience, definitely. Something to keep an eye on. I know we're running to like an hour 30 here. I don't know if you guys want to keep going or.
Yeah, we'll probably cut it here.
It's a good spot to wrap it up. I like the talk about Baba. I mean, I'm in complete agreement as far as that stock goes. I'm keeping it on my watch list. Yeah, and it's one of those things you like. Stocks our dopamine receptors are kind of so programmed to expect quick movements on price that it can be easy to lose track of these big equities that don't move quite as fast. But when we look back in 2025 or 2026, we're like, damn, I probably should have played that in some capacity, even if it was just kind of like these cheap dated options. Yeah, so but that's it from us, guys. We are going to officially wrap the show up here, but to run through a few housekeeping measures as always before we finish up. A reminder, guys, that we have launched our official hedge fund, BB Wealth Management. That is a fund that focuses primarily on digital assets and does so in a way that looks to maximize, obviously, our exposure to assets with asymmetric history for upside returns while balancing the investment risks posed in any market. So if becoming an accredited investor or LP is something that interests you, we do have more information linked in the description of this video below. Feel free to reach out to us, guys. We will respond to you via email, hopefully answer any and all of your questions, maybe even hop on a call with you guys if you meet the criteria. But that we are very excited about that, as we always have been, as we prepare to enter the great crypto bull run. Of course, we also have the BB Academy, guys. And as I will continually say, it's been out for a few months, but you guys have already provided us with some amazing feedback. For my money, it is the best course that you can find on all of CT, on all of, the crypto ecosystem or the ecosphere, whatever word you want to use to describe it. It's invaluable. It's invaluable to be able to learn from so many different traders who obviously approach the market in a variety of different ways. How we approach things, how we analyze things, and ultimately how we take trades. It's a fantastic resource. We also have that linked in the description of this video below. Of course, as well, next week, guys, we are launching the BB terminal. I was trying it out yesterday, and I have to say I'm pretty stoked for you guys to be able to see it, for you to be able to use it. I know Max has shown some snippets of the terminal in the past, but I'm really pleased with how things have turned out. We're going to continue to build and improve upon it as we go, but yeah, I'm so excited for you guys to see the product. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears have gone into the production of it, but yeah, we're very excited to bring that to you guys. And yeah, that's from a product standpoint, that's it. If you guys enjoyed Market Check, we'll be back for another episode tomorrow. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we go live, whenever the New York Stock Exchange is open. That's when you can expect to find us on YouTube. Of course, we also have Market Talk, hosted by King Wabi. Maybe you want a bit more of a fix, talking about markets into the afternoon. Market Talk is your destination to do so. So make sure to tune in for Wabi's show. There's a Twitter space hosted by our Twitter account, so make sure to stay following and subscribed so that you can be notified, not just when we schedule those spaces, but also when we go live. But that is it from us, guys. We will see what Jerome Powell has in store for us tomorrow, but I'm sure we'll be, at the very least, we should finally have some lower time frame volatility in these markets. And who's going to complain about that at the end of the day? But that's it from us. Y'all have a great rest of your afternoon, a great rest of your week if we don't see you tomorrow. And I hope we see you tomorrow, because, you know, it is a pretty big day with Powell speaking and all. But if we don't, have a great weekend. Thanks again, as always. And of course, stay safe, guys. Thanks again.